Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 update 1.46. In today's video we're going to go through probably my only money method using the new cars from update 1.46, obviously using the Chevrolet Chevelle, probably the only useful car from this entire update in terms of long-term money making strategies. So I will go through this build. It's going to be a 700 pp build. I'm currently working on a 600 build as well, so if that one does pan out and go right, then I will make a video on that a little further down the line. So first things first, let's have a look at the price point of this car. It's not going to break the bank. 163,000 credits for the base vehicle. As you can see, PP rating is 472.64. Displacement as standard is a whopping 7,443cc, so you know this is going to absolutely guzzle fuel. Max power also very quite high for a 1970 car, 449 brake horsepower, weight on the high side as well at 1762 kilograms, and is naturally aspirated. Overall, this is a fairly solid starting point for an American muscle car, if not one of the better ones as well. So the first thing we're going to want to do is get the wide body on this car. So ensure that you've got that installed. Let's have a look at the rest of the aero mods. So we'll start off with the wheels themselves, as these do actually alter the PP rating. So it's completely up to you, just have the wide tyres and such on. Front aero is going to be type B on this one. This will give you the maximum aero possible. A custom wing set as well. I've gone for the low wing. Again, it's all personal preference. I didn't really want a drag wing on a track build. And in terms of the roll cage, once again does affect PP, and I've gone for a roll cage type C. So let's get into the tuning sheet. You want to be running racing hards on this one as standard. You'll also need a set of racing intermediates and heavy wets. I actually don't have them on this car. For some reason I completely forgot about it and got a massive dry run. So fully customizable suspension, body height is 100 for both, anti-roll bar is 9 for both, and compression is 40 for both. Expansion is going to be 50 across the board as well. Natural frequency is 3.05 front and 3.20 at the rear. Negative camber angle 1.5 at the front and 1.8 at the rear. Toe angle at the front 0.05 outwards and 0.20 inwards at the rear. Fully customizable differential. Now in terms of this one, it's very much a crucial setting. I went for initial torque at 60, acceleration at 60, and braking at 20. This was a sweet spot for me. Feel free to play about with that, it doesn't alter the PP. Fully customizable manual transmission, I have it set to 300, and then my gear ratios are as follows. So we'll go down to the final first. I have this set to 3.00, fifth is 0.965-380, fourth is 1220-280, third 1.610-212, second 2.265-151, and first gear is going to be 3.500-97. Feel free to adjust the 300 to about 320 if you want extra fuel economy. Ballast 61, minus 41 positioning, no power restriction. Downforce front is 50 and at the rear is 200. Then over onto the performance, we have a racing intercooler, supercharger high-end torque, racing air cleaner, racing silencer, racing exhaust manifold, slotted discs, brake pads, and then we do have a brake controller, which I do recommend having and doing on the fly. Then we have racing clutch and flywheel, carbon propeller shaft, bore up, engine balance tuning, polished ports, high lift camshaft, titanium connecting rods and pistons, racing crankshaft, high compression pistons, all the weight reductions, and finally increased body rigidity. 700 pp total for this build. Now in terms of the events, I fully recommend setting your difficulty to easy. That is the entire point of this. We're not doing it for competition, we are doing it for easy money as possible. Now we're going to go to WTC 700. The two events you want to focus on: Mount Panorama Motor Racing Circuit in Australia and Le Mans over in France, or the Circuit de la Sarthe. This is going to be the better event of the two for payout, however it can feature altering weather. This car is usable for all 700 pp events and seems like a good base. Now in terms of the car itself, it's very quick, but very, very thirsty. Surprising as well, but it is very good on its tyres, something that I just didn't expect it to be. In terms of how thirsty this car is, it is on the extreme side, so you will need to be lifting and coasting a lot to drag it out to 3 laps. If you want to do it the quicker way, I do recommend going full throttle and doing 2 laps at a time in pit, but for me, I do prefer to drag it out. So again, you can mix and match your strategies for this one, but I'm assuming most of you will know this by now. Again, I fully recommend a manual transmission when running this car. Again, very quick and will require you to short shift constantly. You will always be in a very high gear with this, but there is plenty of power to drag you along the way. So a side note, if using automatic, this one might not be for you. I do fully recommend absolutely short shifting before the bar starts to fill itself up. Again, like I mentioned, it does have plenty of power to get you along. Again, you will need to lift and coast. Even someone that like me, that is relatively good at fuel saving, did struggle to drag it out to 3 laps at times, but once you get used to it, it's an absolute missile of a car. So obviously we're going to go to fuel mix 6 to begin with. Again, we're going to start short shifting our way around the track. You will notice constantly in the bottom of the screen that I'm constantly in the high gears, so I will never really just let it completely rev up. You'll see me short shifting all the time. It is probably the best way to run it, but again, because we do have plenty of power, you don't need to worry too much about it not sort of catching itself up. It won't choke out and not really get itself going. I've noticed that no matter what gear you're in this car, it will just pull constantly. It's ridiculous. In terms of the overall way to drive it, that is honestly just going to be the best advice I can give you. Manual transmission, lift off the throttle, constantly short shift, and you should be all good. Always recommend, in terms of your normal driving style, when it comes to this car, just be in a gear above where you'd naturally expect to be. Again, as soon as you put the power down, the car will start to pull and you shouldn't have any worries at all in the long term. In terms of weather, I do recommend starting to check it between lap 2 and 3. Again, there is a high chance of rain. However, I've noticed a pattern recently in terms of Le Mans that the first instance of rain will more than likely miss, and it does seem to be more common for me personally towards the end of an event. Now I'm just going to speed this bit up here. As you can see, this is going to be the first pit stop. I've managed to just drag it out to the end of lap 3, pretty much running out of fuel as I went into the pits. Now at this point, if you do have rain, you will be covering it off. If not, just again, you shouldn't really need to change the tyres. Although this is an American muscle car, because we're short shifting and constantly lifting off the throttle, it really is quite safe on its tyres. So you may not have to change them, it's completely up to you. I just change them to waste that little bit of extra time come the end of the event. In terms of weather, once again, if it does start raining, this car can be quite unstable, so just be aware that it isn't overall going to be the most grippiest build in terms of the wet. Now again, I had to pit at the end of lap 6. I did have a dry run, and although we got that bit of rain, it did pass relatively quickly. So again, at this point, because I've got a fully dry track, I'm going to try and kill it as much time possible. Obviously, I did have to pit on the 3rd lap, so it's every 3 laps for me. So on the end of lap 6 onto 7, I decided to pit in and just go absolutely full throttle to the end. And you're going to see that I timed it pretty much to perfection, having to just lift off at the end there and complete my 7th lap pretty much off the throttle. Again, I didn't quite have the gap to the rest of the field that I would have done if it was raining. So there we go, lift off, get the job done, pretty much dot on the 30-minute mark whilst completing 7 laps. Now lap 5 was my fastest. We did have a bit of a rainy I guess downpour on that lap. It was a 4-minute 2.065, so there you go, plenty of pace in this car even with that ridiculous amount of lifting and short shifting. 825k for this one in a pretty much dot on 30 minutes. You can use a stop and wait method here as well if you do end up getting a wet weather race. So there we have it. It might just be the only money making method of update 1.46 that I do. Like I said, I am working on a 600 build, but I do find that towards the sort of twistier section of Tokyo, it's struggling in the early wet weather in that event. If I can get that one fine-tuned and working correctly, then I may upload it a little bit later down the line, maybe in a couple of weeks or so. But this is probably going to be it for the new update 1.46 cars. The other two being EV aren't really that useful in terms of long-term money making methods. However, I do have a video, a couple of videos should I say, of custom race methods that have been sent over time. Again, I've been trying to avoid them them, as I think they're kind of, you know, a little bit hit and miss, and it's so car specific and such, but I may get them out down the line as well. So yeah, just keep your eyes out for that one. But as for the 1.46 cards, this may just be the only one. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Take care, guys. Peace.